Welcome to It's a Life Thing, Bridging Pain to Purpose. We're your hosts, Benita Santillanes
and Madeline Figueroa. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at It's a Life Thing.
Hey everybody! Hi, good evening and welcome to our podcast today. We are in a new location in the home of the Torres family.
Yep. That voice today. So she's gonna do most of the talking. But I just wanted to say hello and welcome.
Yes, welcome to this. We are excited to have you guys tonight and the Torres family. Today we are joined by three amazing siblings, Dinah, Jessica, Josue, and Dinah's husband, Edwin. And we will be discussing the different ways that they grieved, how they supported each other, and sometimes didn't, and what it means to help their own children grieve the loss of a grandmother while still healing their own inner child. So we're going to play a small video for you, and we'll be right back.
This is a story of love and loss. This is a story of grace and grief. But this is more than just a story. It's the life of our mommy and papi, our mother Maritza and our father Francisco met in Coto Laurel, Ponce, Puerto Rico in 1973. Just a year later, on June 19th, 1974, our parents became Mr. and Mrs. Torres for the remainder of their lives. While their love story began on our beautiful island, like so many Boricua migrants of the 60s and 70s, they traveled over 2,000 miles to the windy city of Chicago, where they would remain rooted for over 3 decades. But their journey was more than a relocation. It was a lifetime of ebbs and flows, a love story that wove together joy and sorrow, poverty and perseverance, addiction and healing, disease and faith, death and eternal love. To say their story was only one of pain would erase the deep truth that their bond was also about resilience, about the saving grace of God, about forgiveness, and above all, about how love always wins. Our parents gave us the greatest gift. They gave us each other. We are their children, Dinah, Jessica, and Josue. We have become each other's lifelong companions through this love and loss. And alongside our spouses and our children, we carry the weight of their journey, and we've each walked through this grief in our own way. We share our story transparently, not just to remember, but to connect. If you are feeling the ache of grief today, know this: you are not alone. Your journey is yours, yes, but you are held in the collective human truth that love and loss may walk hand in hand. And so we keep on remembering, we keep on honoring, we keep on healing, and above all, we keep on loving no matter what. This is the legacy of love.
Oh, welcome, guys. How are you guys feeling today?
Wow. We are so honored to have you guys here, and we're so grateful to be able to share this time with you and talk to you about all the things we're going to dive into.
Okay, are we going to start crying already? I'm about ready to, we got tissues, we got the toilet paper, we got ready, just in case.
Yes.
So, but thank you for opening up your home to us today and to giving us this is an interesting location to set up with everything. Thank you for helping us with the computer stuff as well. Maddie did an amazing job at the brains behind everything that we have here. If it wasn't for her, we'd be on our little phone camera trying to do that. So can you introduce yourselves and just basically share a little bit about your family growing up and some of your favorite memories of your parents and stuff, because they obviously saw how amazing your family is.
Yeah. I'll start. I'm Dinah Torres Quinones now. And I am the oldest of the three of us. Next to me is my baby sister, Jessica. She's the middle child. She's the middle child, and and we laugh because she's wired differently. My brother, who will be joining us shortly, he's the youngest of the three of us. And I think some of my favorite memories of my family when we were growing up are the water fights we used to have inside the house with our dad. I don't know any other kid, any of my friends whose parents were willing to turn on a water hose inside the house. But my parents were, and so we used to have these water fights, and it was revenge of who can catch who.
Okay.
And it happened all of the time, whether you were dressed in your Sunday clothes or you were just trying to get the Saturday cleaning done. Be careful, because a bucket or a hose was coming. And mom was the water gun. Yes. Mom was the best. Super soakers. Yes. So those are some of the things that I remember the most growing up. Water fights. My mom was known for serving great meals. And if you were privileged enough to have a meal at her table, you came back for seconds and thirds. And so she could cook. So there was always, every weekend, there was somebody coming over for dinner, and we were going to enjoy the fruit of that labor. So we were so grateful for that.
What do you remember, Jess?
I think some of our best memories are just the time we spent together. My mom really made sure that we may not have had all the material things, but we had it all because we were together.
Yeah.
And she made the best of it. It was pack a bag, we're going to Montrose Beach.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I remember. Yes. Montrose Beach and everything going on.
Yeah. With the three of us on the bus, we're going to Lincoln Park Zoo. And I think those were the best times. Also with my dad, like just, making sure we went to Humboldt Park and we would play on the swings, and like those are things that I can remember us doing together and just having the best time. It didn't matter what was going on, because there was many things going on in many families, but those moments were what I've held on to.
Yeah, most definitely.
Edwin, when you were dating, did you have the opportunity to meet her dad?
I did not. When I met Dinah, her dad had passed a year.
Yeah.
It was a year. And I think we met coming home. I was coming home from work.
Mom already knows.
I was coming home from work, driving down the infamous.
I picked up my husband on Fullerton.
Oh, he's gonna drive by, be like, "Hey, Bobby."
But I was working.
That's his story. He's telling it his way.
I was working. I was coming home from work, and she, we just happened to, just kind of catch each other's eye, and then from there, we kind of just pulled over and just started talking, just to find out that my circle of friends were friends with her circle of friends, and it just to the point where after we were speaking, we realized that we actually had physically met 2 or 3 times prior without us knowing. Yeah. So
what's a memory that you have of her mom?
The best memory that I have of her mom is she was really not for me. Came with a lot of baggage and coming on in. So like every mom, right, they want the best for her daughter. So I think the best memory for me was when I finally gave the actual intention, because over here my favorite sister-in-law, and I'm saying this for real, she is my my favorite sister-in-law. My sister-in-law and Maritza, they gave me a hard time. Really hard time.
I can't imagine you not Jessica, right? Not the one that climbed differently.
Yeah. I had to earn those stripes. And really hard time. But when I finally, decided to really show what my true intentions were, it was a 360 to the point that after us getting married, Maritza would side more on my side than Dinah, and Dinah would get upset. She's like,
you are
I'm your
my mother.
So
Let's just
Pero ese pobre Edwin.
but that's my favorite.
Dinah, no le hable así a tu esposo.
That's my favorite memory. My favorite memory was at 360. The completely he's not for you, and to the point where now it's just like
You want her over.
I want her over, and I want her over too. So
Yeah.
It's very important. Little sisters.
I love him.
Yes.
I love it. I can't imagine my life without him. So.
And what would you say, until your brother gets here, what would you say that, like as a family, do you guys have like traditions or things like that you guys did with your mom that was really special, or and your dad as a family?
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving.
Really?
The favorite holiday in this family has been and has always been Thanksgiving.
Really?
Wow.
It was I don't know where it sparked, so I can't tell you what was the kickoff of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I remember is that up through the time that the holidays would kick off, like in the beginning of November, my dad would always be so excited because my mom was gonna always cook something new on Thanksgiving Day, and it was that secret recipe, sweet potatoes in various different ways, or her homemade macaroni and cheese, and it was gonna have something different. And so my father loved it so much that it became contagious to us. All of us loved Thanksgiving.
Got it.
And the food was going to be galore. And the house was going to be full because everyone was welcome to Thanksgiving.
Everybody came.
Everyone. I think, if I'm correct, the largest Thanksgiving we hosted was 43 people. In our home, my mother made the entire spread.
Which home?
This was on our house on Whipple.
Okay.
So this is when we were living on Whipple Street.
Okay.
And next to St. Sylvester School. And she said, invite somebody that you know needs somewhere to have a meal.
Mm-hmm.
And literally 43 people were around the table.
And that's not everybody brings a little something.
That's
right?
not including our family though.
That's
not including. That was everybody extra.
Yes. 43 more people came to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'd be in the room. I'd be like,
but she loved it. She loved to serve and she loved to cook. And the kitchen was where she showed the most love to people.
yeah.
But that's what she did. She
That's
always
what she did.
did that.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of pictures of your dad and your mom growing up and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about your father as he was progressing in life and some of his struggles?
Sure. Our dad, as we shared, they came from Puerto Rico here. And I think really at a young age, we recognized that our dad was struggling. I tell a lot of people when they ask me about my dad that my father was a functional addict.
Mm-hmm.
My mother learned early on in their marriage that he was struggling with drugs, and heroin was the drug of choice when he was here in Chicago, right? And like so many Puerto Ricans who were living here, it seemed like this drug just got dropped into our communities. Where did they come from? How did heroin become a thing in our community? But for many Boricuas, this was the struggle. And my father, it didn't miss him.
Yeah.
So my dad was struggling with drugs, and my mother became kind of like this stoic pillar in our family.
Mm-hmm.
She loved my father dearly and understood he was struggling. And she was both protecting us and protecting him fiercely.
Well, your mom was a woman of faith. Your mom.
My mother was an incredible woman of faith.
Faith and force. Yes. Faith and force. Yes.
Yes.
The mom.
Faith and force. Absolutely. She believed in praying and putting her hands on
Yes.
it. And
The five ministry.
I made it clear that she laid hands on Dinah the most.
Did you deserve them?
every time my mother put her hands on me, I deserved it.
Yeah.
And now as a mother, I could say that.
I want to say that's not true. I want to say me and Joshua deserved it more, but Dinah was the one that answered back. And I think that's what frustrated mom the most.
She has mouth on her.
Yes, yes.
I know
And
about
I'm
that.
quiet. I'm like,
Benita, you don't know nothing about that.
I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, so my dad definitely struggled, and my mother, and it was a long time. So my father, and I say my father became free of addiction.
Yes.
Because he had gone through many programs, many different programs to try to become clean. But my father had an encounter with the Lord, and that changed his life forever.
Yeah.
But I was 16 by the time that happened.
Do you mind sharing that with us? Because I think that's an amazing story. If not, it's okay.
No, I share this to say that, you know, many families are struggling with things inside their homes, and most people
And
don't
hold
know
on,
about
before you say that, I want to make it known that we're here for you guys.
Yeah.
So if there's anything at any time that you're not comfortable saying or whatever, you just let us know.
Okay.
Okay?
Before you finish.
No, because we're here to honor your story. So just so you guys know.
So before you tell that story, we haven't mentioned what he had later and at the ages. So can you add that into the story?
Oh, yeah.
When he had the encounter, his diagnosis.
Oh, okay.
You haven't said that.
Yeah, and Jessica can help my recollection. I might have fog brain. One, because it's emotional, right, to talk about my parents. And I think that as the older sibling, the three of us saw things differently.
Yeah.
And we experienced things differently. And so my experience may seem a little different than Jessica's. We were living in the same home. But what I remember was I was 16 years old, and my mother was always a woman of faith and always a member of the church.
Yeah.
And my father, he was hermano Paco, but he was not really an hermano at that time. He was not even a primo. And so
he wasn't even a primo.
He wasn't even a primo, not even. And he was at home one day, and he was definitely on en una nota. If you know what that means, you know what that means.
He was flying high.
He was on one. And he was on the sofa of the house. My siblings and I were probably somewhere in the room playing, and my mom was in the kitchen cleaning. And my father was trying to watch Sunday football, but he
thought he was going to watch Sunday.
Yeah, he thought he was going to watch Sunday football. And then all of a sudden he started to see, what he told us was, he started to see these scriptures pop up on the television. And he thought he was tweaking because he was high.
Right.
But he began to feel his body submerge, like start to go down.
Yeah, that was that.
He started to like descend, and he started to feel that. But when he would look away from the TV and look at my mom, he kept saying that my mom had this light around her. So he kept calling out to her. And my father's nickname for my mother was Mara. Yeah. So he was Mara, Mara. He was screaming to her like, come here. And she grabbed his hand, and he felt like he came back up. Yeah. So wherever he was descended. Yeah. And whenever she touched him, he would come back up. And my mother recognized that something was happening with my father that wasn't just the tweaking out, right? And she began to read the Bible to him and read the scripture to him. And she said, yeah, exactly.
Like
call out to God. And she started reading him John 3:16. For God so loved the world, right? For him to call out God. And so that experience happened. That night ended. And the next day or so, we were getting ready to go to church. And my father said to my mother, I'm going with you. And we all were like, wait,
what? That's going to church?
Yeah. Yeah. That was, did you see that face?
Yes.
Face was not like, he was like, I'm coming. And everybody just stood a little shocked by that. Yeah. So at that time, my mother and we were serving the Lord at Maranatha Church. Yeah. And if you know, you know. Shout out to Maranatha and all the Maranatha out there who are watching.
For anyone who doesn't know, it's a church.
On Diversity. 4301 West Diversity. If you're looking for a home church, go for it. And so he got there, and the preacher was preaching. and the worship had finished, and my father, who he didn't finish, he was not done because he was holding on to a seat in front of him, screaming out to Jesus, like literally, like, "Oh God!" We were like, "What in the world?" I said, "Oh my God, this guy came to church tonight." Like, but that's not what was happening.
Yeah.
That's not what was
No, but
happening.
he definitely.
How old were you during this time?
I was 16, so Jessica must have been 11 or 12,
Wow.
and Joshua was the youngest of us.
Wow.
So
And we all saw different parts, right? I feel like Joshua saw the least of the things because he was younger.
Right.
I saw somewhat, and Dinah saw the most of what was going on at home.
Yeah.
But we all definitely knew he was going through a thing for a couple days. It was not something that happened in the moment and that's it. It was something that took days, and he was definitely going through a process.
Really?
His body. I want to say his body went through a process along with his mind, his heart, his soul, like everything. Because you can tell his tremor, his
It's locked. You can open the door. Sorry. We're getting Joshua.
oh my
So
goodness.
play. Let's play.
Yeah.
and so I think it was, for us, it was visible. Maybe to the outside person, they were just like, he's just on drugs, right? They would have just claimed it under that. But we knew the difference. And we knew his difference in his actions at home too. So it definitely was.
So for you, since you were like, you said you were like 10, so prior to that moment, as a 10-year-old, you saw, did you see
Forever.
versus the father that you got after that experience? Or was he already doing the water fights even during that time?
So my
So
dad
that was
always, he was always a dad.
Yeah.
So even in the midst of his battles and his addiction, he made sure to always show us love, to always be there. It was in his own way, right? Like in what was in the scope of his capacity. But it was always, he was going to help us with homework. It was time to take a bath, before you go to bed. Did you guys eat? Even with him being high, needing to get high, right? Because it's not just about him being high all the time. It was times where, because he was a functional addict, he would go to work.
Right.
But he came home and he needed that high. And while he was anxious and moving or trying to clean, because it was, part of his routine,
right,
to stay active, he was still like, doing the dishes, or there were certain things he wasn't going to do in the house. That was my mom's job, but he definitely would help. He would help.
So he was a dad and a husband.
Oh yeah.
Even though he had that. Now you had said that he came from Puerto Rico with some challenges. Do you think that the pressure of being here in Chicago, trying to assimilate and get established here, added that stress that led into something more powerful?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who is leaving the home that they know and trying to acclimate somewhere else is having some challenges. And at that time, it's not like Puerto Ricans were welcome. We were the migrants of the 60s and 70s. We were what we're talking about today when we look at immigrant populations today, right? And that's what we were. And that's what my parents definitely were. And so it would be remiss of us to think that our dad wasn't feeling those pressures. He was coming to Chicago. He didn't speak English as a first language. My father had, he was a tradesman, air conditioning and refrigeration, and he could not find a job in that because he couldn't speak English and he didn't have the tools. You had to have your own tools at that time to do that kind of work. So he ended up taking, a job at like Breyer's Ice Cream. I think that was the first job that he had here in Chicago. So minimum wage jobs, lack of community, and trying to get reestablished, and all of that must have weighed on him.
Yeah.
And I think that that's exactly part of the struggle that he was having, and it played out in that he was both challenged from coming from Puerto Rico with already some exposure to these things, and then coming into full-fledged exposure here.
Yeah.
So what do you remember about your dad? growing up, because we had talked to them before you came. We had talked to them about like the best memories of your dad and stuff growing up, and the water fights and everything. And then that Dinah got the most butt whooped. That you and your sister.
Well earned.
Girl.
Wow, my siblings are selling me out live.
They got
They will get me live.
I remember when she was a thug.
What was her nickname on the street?
I know mine. I promise you. There's gonna be no meal for you after this.
So what do you remember about your dad? Like,
Watch your words.
I mean, I'll be honest. For me, I was the youngest at home, so
yeah,
you know, my earliest memories and whatnot of dad were more normal than anything.
yeah.
I don't remember none of the
You-
previous.
The
You got
Yeah.
the heels dad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know,
Right.
I mean, now we all still suffer the effects, right? Because
Right,
you still pay for the consequences of life.
right.
The
Right.
life he led to losing him early and
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, for me, I mean, I just, you know, I remember dad being around and active and,
Right.
you know,
So saying that, what do you remember about after the illness happened? And
We haven't said the
And
illness.
yeah, well,
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, I remember it, but I remember it from such a lens of a child
Yeah.
that it's just different, you know.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I remember knowing that he was sick.
Yeah,
knowing
but you didn't
what
know
it
what
was.
it
No, I knew what it was, and I remember talking about it like it was nothing.
Yeah,
Because in my mind, well, you know, and especially us growing up in church and
Oh, yeah.
that aspect of it. To me,
Exactly.
dad was healed. It was good.
exactly.
We were fine, and you know,
Yeah.
I never really thought twice about it.
Right.
You know? I used to, I even though I do remember knowing about it. I mean, even like freshman year of high school, I remember writing a paper on the illness and whatnot.
Mhm.
But to me, it was again, I think our parents did a good job of giving us a
Yes.
safety
Yeah.
comfort zone. So
Yeah.
it didn't matter what bad news you would have gave, everything was going to be fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that's just how it felt, to be honest. You know.
yeah.
Can you
I
share
just-
what his diagnosis
Yeah.
was?
Yeah.
So I wanna say one thing that Maddie and Benita both said to us is that this is a safe space for us, and
Yes.
we will only disclose what we feel comfortable with. So we haven't said what Dad's illness was, and we wanted to wait till you were in the room
Right.
and be respectful if you were okay with us sharing, and if not, then we will keep turning the page.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good with it.
you okay with that?
I'm an open book.
Okay.
Great.
Well,
Okay.
we appreciate that because it's a very, like I said, it's your story.
Yeah.
And you tell it how you want to tell it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So
I also think it is important to share for one of the main reasons if there's anybody out there watching and thinking these things don't happen to anybody else. or
that's right.
They look like a family that was so collected and so together and they got it
Mhm.
together. And no, we don't.
Right.
We are human. We are all human. And things
Mhm.
happen every day to everybody. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's good, you know. It's not okay, but there's somebody out there that has gone through your same situation that can help,
Or might be in
can
the
give some
middle of
advice.
it.
Right now.
Right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
So we learned that our father was HIV positive in the 90s. I think if I'm correct, it was 1993.
yes, because it was,
Yeah, it was about
I
7.
graduated in
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So about 1993, we learned that our father was HIV positive. And as you can imagine what it was like to be
That's
diagnosed with HIV at that
That's
time,
The-
the stigma,
Yeah.
the shame.
And let's be clear, it was because of
Intravenous.
Intravenous drug use.
and it was after he gave his life to the Lord.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, correct. So you know, as I shared about our mom being the pillar of our family, my mom, she was a fierce protector of our family, and so learning that my father had become ill was, you know, in our home. What I remember was there was this great fear. He was sick. Was she sick? Getting tested to make sure that she wasn't sick. Understanding that what did this mean for their life moving forward, and at a time where HIV was not spoken about, and or it was considered the disease of just the gay community, right? So this was not anybody else's worry. Then there was like, how do we live our lives normally? Can we share a cup? Can we not share a cup? Can we share a towel? Can we not share a towel?
Yeah.
Like it was this just, I remember just being so young and not understanding this disease and no one really talking to you about this disease.
Yeah.
So there were two things that were happening. There was the Latino culture where you didn't talk about certain things. And then there was the church culture that was laying on top of that, which is, just believe God for your healing and that's it. And let it be. Yeah. And then there was the 5 of us, the Torres family.
Yeah.
In one roof with this, it's like a pressure cooker with all of this that's going on. And so, that was, and my dad lived for 12 years. 12 years after the diagnosis.
The diagnosis. Yes. What do you remember, Jessica?
I remember always feeling like he was embarrassed. He was concerned. He didn't want anyone to mistreat us.
Yeah.
He was the one that if he drank something and we grabbed his cup, he was just like, no, don't drink from that.
Yeah.
You can't touch that. You can't, don't touch me, be careful. And it was like, doesn't matter, your dad, and no, and he was very worried.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing that. I remember seeing my mom never, in front of us, never break down or worry, but I knew she would go to the room to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's so much that happens, right? Like, and there is that fear because you heard of HIV or AIDS, and you're like, oh my God, you're gonna die, and you're contagious.
Yeah,
And
there was so much.
It was a stigma.
Yeah.
And people were mean.
Yeah.
They were cruel.
They were cruel.
Because I remember when your dad would come to church and I would see him and hug him. And it's funny that you say that he was, he would receive the hug, but he was, and I remember that.
I remember I worked, my father worked at the Rehab Institute of Chicago.
Yeah.
And my mother worked there as well. And we were on an elevator. And there was a front article news report on the Chicago Tribune at the time when people read papers, right?
Yeah.
And there was a person on the elevator who said out loud, oh, they should take all these people with AIDS and they should put them on their own island. And I was on the elevator with my dad when he said it.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking at my dad's face. Nobody knew my father was HIV positive at
Right.
work.
He didn't look it.
Right.
And I remember just looking at his face, and I remember the pain I felt for him.
Yeah.
And then as a daughter, the anger that I felt, like, how dare you? But that was the ignorance we were facing every day.
Yeah, at that time. Yeah.
Now, as we got older, I think we each were able to defend the situation better and more differently. We all became a little more sassy, and it was just like,
sassy.
As if we needed to be more sassy.
Right.
Right.
I'm not sassy.
well, no, that's without the sarcasm.
What do you remember about that time with your dad?
I remember. I mean, I feel like I remember it more in like still images. Like, for example, I remember. Well, I was 7 or 8 when he got
so he was still young.
Right. And so I do remember having like conversations with my best friend's mom at the time, Christina, who she knew what was going on from her relationship with mom and understanding it. And again, it's funny to me to think back on it because not funny, but it's just ironic that I look back on it now and I just had such a kid's view on it. I did not realize even reading up on what HIV or AIDS was and things like that and knowing the situation because none of us were really ignorant. We kind of but I just looked at it. It was really nothing to me. I don't remember thinking about it.
Do you guys feel that you had to grow up faster because of having to learn all of this information and how to protect? Do you feel that any part of your teenage years and your childhood was not addressed, or is it sounds like they did a good job to try and keep normalcy.
Yeah.
They
To
did.
keep everything
I think we were more knowledgeable
Yeah,
than
Yeah.
most our age,
yeah,
but not in an adult way, but
Right.
in a medical kind of way, because
Right.
we were then going with my dad to appointments.
Right.
We were present. We wanted, and then we wanted to know also, like,
right.
so that to see how we could, help, quote unquote, my mom.
Fix or fixing.
Right, right. So I think we were, like, I know Don and I, for sure, we definitely were going more to appointments with my dad. So I wouldn't say we had to grow up, but we definitely knew more information than most.
Yeah.
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 And then also with that drug use, right? Because
Yeah.
I also will say that I think in general, just coming from where we come from, I
Yeah.
think most of us grew up fast.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We
Right.
grew up
Right.
I think you
For
said
sure.
right, it's a community.
It's a community.
thing. You don't come from the places
Yeah.
where we come from and not have to know
No,
what's going
correct.
on. I mean,
Correct.
The realities of parents. I mean, the topic of HIV/AIDS. Let's be honest, it's rampant.
Yeah.
It's rampant in our community.
Yeah.
Several people, drug
Yeah.
use, or
That's
the heroin and crack epidemic,
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
huge consequences.
But it really
in
wasn't
neighborhoods.
spoken about. It was always
sure.
a secret.
Correct. It was
Now,
always hush.
now I know when we talked with you a couple days ago, we were talking about how it felt, how you were processing that he, with his faith, and then now he's diagnosed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you want to share about that, like how it was? Because I remember him always reading the word,
Yes. Yeah.
always after that experience he had.
I think that I think that there was a strong pillar in our home, and that pillar was God, and that anchor was faith. And so when my father was in his addiction, my mother was holding the torch of faith. When my father had an encounter with God, that was just fused. That was just another element added to a faith that was already anchored in our home. So my mother and my father, I often say that our home, whether it was the house on Whipple that we were living in, this home that my mother lived in for several years, these homes were saturated with their prayers. They believed every day, and they prayed for healing and for sustainability and for our protection and for our guidance, for wisdom to know how to deal with situations day to day. And so my father was diagnosed, and he immediately just dove into the word of God and believed it without any swaying. He believed God was going to sustain him.
Yes.
Whether he had this disease or not, he believed in that sustaining, healing power of God.
Now, how long was it after he gave his life to the Lord that he realized that he was ill?
This all happened. I can't really. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump right over you, but I can't remember exactly how it happened. But these things happened like simultaneously. It was like he had this experience. He went to church. He gave his life to the Lord, and then he had already been feeling ill. So then the diagnosis came, and it was just weeks or months at most. Between when these things.
I think that's the way it felt to us.
That's how it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It could have been some more time, but for us it felt that way. It
It's
felt
just
right
right
away.
away.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
We got some comments so Angel Rodriguez, he made a comment. I'm sorry.
You want me to read it?
Yes.
Which one?
He
It
made a
said,
comment about the pickup.
Fullerton, back in the day where you cruise rocking hot mix 5, and of course checking out the ladies. And let's not be fooled. The ladies doing the same thing, checking out the fellas.
20 years later, here we go.
20 years later.
And my friend,
definitely knows that.
and my friend Amber Montgomery said yes, and a beautiful storytelling family.
Then Jessica
Jessica Snow said, I love both of your parents because they both
love
love me as their child.
Just go home. Oh my God.
Well, no, because I remember the family. I know you guys
Yeah.
since we were going to Mananapa together and everything, and praying for my leg to grow, and praying for the Helias at the church and everything, and staying over and stuff. So, okay. Do you guys want to share about that before we kind of go on?
The only thing I wanted to add to that was that till the last breath, my dad said the same thing. And it doesn't matter where we've been in our lives, how much we've run or hid and run some more and come back. I will say that
The one with
my
the most problems.
the one with the most issues. You're right. I have them all. I don't have one. I have 100. But my dad was firm and he was healed on the cross of Calvary.
Yes.
And he went with the Lord. And his last request and prayer was that he would see us again.
That's it.
Wow.
He said it. He prayed for us and my mother while in that bed, literally maybe 30 minutes before he took his last breath.
Yeah.
And so I think his faith held him through. And through. And when people were very, very ill with HIV and the other infirmities that it brought, because HIV had many things from
side effects and stuff.
Yes, from
Like
skin.
complications.
Yes.
Thrush in the mouth.
He really did not have any of
No.
Really?
He never got any of them.
The only thing that I saw in the pictures was his skin got darker.
Yeah.
it. Did. He lost his hair because he did. So they put him on a cocktail treatment for a short time.
Yeah.
And then he told the doctor no. His doctor was a Christian man, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
At
London.
Lawndale Clinic.
Thank you.
And it is still there. It is still there. His
Dr.
doctor
Rich.
was amazing. And he, when my dad went to him with the bag of medicine, was just like, I'm done.
Wow.
I know my God, and I'm going to live the time that I'm going to live, and I don't need this. His doctor said, Cisco, let's pray.
That's right. They will call him Cisco. That's right.
And he did. And my dad decided to
Well, at the time that let's also remember, it was like 20 or so pills a day.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
This wasn't, he wasn't saying I'm done because it was just one pill a day. It was so much.
So much, right.
So much.
And but he ended up having all the additional stuff that he had. So his hair grew back. So something that he was told would not happen.
Yes.
His hair grew back.
His eyebrow grew back.
His eyebrows grew back in, yes.
Wow.
So when he passed, he was at a healthier point. But I think he prayed for a peaceful ending,
Mhm.
and that's exactly how he went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that when he passed now, how old were you guys when he passed?
Yeah.
I was 26.
I was 21.
And what do you guys remember about that day?
Oh, I could relive it like it was yesterday.
Yes. I could relive
Do
the
you
day as if
mind
it was yesterday.
sharing from the different perspectives?
So I remember helping Dad get ready to go to the hospital prior to the day of the passing. Right, he was a bit incoherent and helping put his shoes on and whatnot. And then I remember once he was at the hospital, he was at Mount Sinai. I remember Elvin picking us up,
yes,
and eating every red light.
yes.
Which of course. So he rushed us there, but it was kind of the feeling was obvious.
Yeah, you want to get him there immediately. Yeah.
And I wasn't in the room when Dad passed. I was downstairs.
He waited for all of us to walk out of the
vending
room.
machines.
He was with Pastora Minerva.
Really? Pastor Minerva was with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was a lot of people.
Oh yes.
It was
I couldn't even tell you the names.
It was a Wednesday evening, and so they had dismissed
too.
prayer at the church, and the church group had come to the hospital to be with us. And Pastora Minerva was with my father. And as the woman of powerful faith that she is, she told my dad, Francisco, if you want to get up from this bed, we pray and you come home.
Right.
But if you're ready to see your creator, then it's when you say. and she made the last prayer with him. We stepped out to thank the people that had come, and my father sneakily went to sleep when we all walked out.
Wow.
And I think it's because he knew we couldn't let him go.
Yeah.
So his nurse, he wasn't on medication, but they had given him an IV.
Yeah.
And then the IV bag was done, and the nurse went to switch it out. And the nurse went to go switch it, and the vein wasn't taking it.
Yeah.
And she let them. He was gone.
He was gone.
And she was like, "Truly, this man has gone with the Lord." The nurse at Mount Sinai. I've always like tried to look for the records to get her name because I never got her name. But she was like, "Truly, this man has gone with the Lord," because he literally closed his eyes and went to sleep.
Wow.
Our mom did the same thing.
I was like, "Now you rush forward." My mom did the exact same thing.
Well, you know what? You know, let's just go with the flow. And then how was that different from your mom? Well, let me ask this question before we go to your mom. When your father had passed away, you were telling us how your mom was such a pillar to be strong for you guys. How was your mom a pillar for you, for both of you guys? And then we'll go with you.
From my perspective, it was, being very honest, everything was just a mess. There was no,
Yeah.
I mean, mom was a pillar and all of that, but
Yeah.
there's no, how do you deal with losing your lifelong partner? And, right.
Yeah.
There was it was all women in the house. Everyone was jacked up.
Yeah.
I was a senior in high school, and then so that period of time was Pops passed away in January, and then by September I was off in college.
Yeah.
So I was his life, right?
Yeah.
The norm. It was tough. Like from my perspective, it was very difficult. I remember a lot of nights crying in the dorm room and whatnot. Like I had those moments.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think that which is the crazy part about death. I mean, life moves regardless.
Yeah.
So it was a very tough moment, but I still had to finish my senior year.
Right.
And then I was still going to college the next season.
Yeah.
He was smart.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
How smart I was. I just got off of work right now.
How did you motivate you?
No, I don't think it did. Not to say it didn't. I just think that it's an unimaginable amount of different emotions that you go through. So a lot of times when I think of my father's passing, I don't think a lot of it hit me until I became a father. So I was 21 when my oldest was born. And so once I became a father and a husband, then I realized it was like, oh, I could really use somebody I could really use a dad right now, and it's kind of like, you don't realize things until you don't have it.
Yeah.
And so obviously in the moment it was a rush of emotions and very painful. But you keep moving. Did
you have a friend that you were like lean on, or
I had a good group of friends at the time. I don't know about good friends, but
questionable.
I did have a group of friends that really did stay around me that whole period of time, like that initial period of time. They were around me.
And some that are still friends.
Some are still my friends to this day. Many of them are still my friends to this day.
Yeah.
So I did have that group of bunch of kids my age that really supported me at the time.
Yeah.
That was.
But I will say it's hard. So even when your friends are trying to friend, it's very hard when they haven't lost a parent.
Exactly.
It's just different. It's not that they can't be, but it is just different.
Yeah.
You can try to be empathetic and, cry it out with us, but you still don't understand it to the level of the person who lost their parent.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I remember one day I was in the car with Edwin and he was buying a Father's Day gift for his dad.
Uh-huh.
Now, Edwin didn't have a chance to meet my dad, but he was going on and on about buying these gym shoes for his dad. I remember. And I remember sitting in the car and it was like this visceral reaction. I was like, I want gym shoes for my dad. He just looked at me like,
Take these gym shoes back.
But it's that moment of like, he's been there with me through this journey. but he was buying a pair of gym shoes for his dad.
Wow.
And I was sitting on the other side going, all I want to do is buy a pair of gym shoes for my dad.
Yeah.
And there are those moments in
Or
your
when
learning
you're
to
complaining
navigate
about the
that.
parent, like, oh my, don't complain about your parent around me. Don't
Right,
do it. Don't do it, because you're gonna get another side of justice. Like, don't do it. Don't complain about your parent in front of me. I mean, like, I would give anything for my dad to ask me for.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of
I know you had said that your mom did a lot of stuff in preparation for the funeral for your dad, and then how it kind of sheltered you from seeing things. And then you guys were never married at the time, right?
No.
Okay.
All of us lived at home and none of us were married when my dad
Yeah.
passed.
So you were telling us that the relationship, just for everybody that, so as we go into the passing of your mom, the difference, what your mom did because your dad was there and how you guys didn't have children at the time, you were able to grieve in your own way with everything.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No,
You're gonna say
just
something?
no, we're just good.
So anybody can start about bringing us to how your mom, the difference with your mom.
Yeah.
What
You
you
want to tell
remember?
us about how she passed
Yeah.
that day?
Yeah.
Because then we're gonna end happy, girl.
Yeah.
So we're gonna switch it up.
Yeah, I think I think maybe centering the very big difference between my mom's passing and my dad's is my dad was ill for many years, and so we understood that his days were getting slower and his body was getting tired.
Mm-hmm.
And our mom was not in that same position,
Mhm.
right? She was active member of the church. We used to joke around that my mother was in church 8 days of the week.
8 days a week.
8 days a week, and she was cooking for folks
Yeah.
who needed cooking for, and during COVID,
Praying for people.
she was taking things to
Always,
people that
yeah.
needed, and then she started to feel like a bad stomach ache, and my sister went to stay with her. Jessica was taking care of her, and then after a couple of days, Jessica said to me, "Hey, this isn't resolving, and we need to take mom to the hospital and get her checked." And we never realized when she went to the hospital that she was never going to be coming home with us after that.
Yeah.
She stayed in the hospital a total of 21 days.
What did they wind up saying was what that happened with her?
You wanted the medical terminology on her piece of paper,
Yeah.
her death certificate. It says pulselessness of unknown etiology. If there's a doctor out there, tell me, what does that mean?
I mean, there was no reason.
It
She
means
didn't have
there's no reason.
her actual cause of death. She had no embolism. She had no stroke. She had no aneurysm. Nothing. She just stopped breathing. That's in the short. In the long, she did have, the reason why she went into the hospital was she ended up having like a bowel obstruction that was very complicated. And no one would have ever known because she didn't even know.
Yeah.
So it just was.
We have a real bad habit of getting used to being uncomfortable until we get so far that we end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she, that's exactly what she did. I will just a quick note, side note, if you feel something, if you think it's something, go get checked.
Yeah.
Women,
every
men, children, check yourselves, check your body, be aware. If you feel something different, there's no dumb question, there's no small question. It's your body, protect it as best you can.
Yeah.
Go get checked.
And this was around towards the end of COVID, but we were still in COVID.
Yeah. So there was some loosened restrictions with at the time, but there were still restrictions. Mom was at Northwestern. They had a policy of no one could spend the night. They really weren't allowing anyone in the room. And we pleaded and begged. And so they allowed us to be with her one at a time during like 10 and 8 p.m. And we used to push it because the nurses liked us. And we ended up staying for like 9 or 9:30 for the time that she was there. And we would alternate.
Yeah. So the rule was you could not leave and come back. So my sister and I My mother was a woman, and when we talked about it, all three of us, to preserve her dignity, we had to change and shower her and stuff. So my brother did not do that type of care,
Right.
because at the end of the day, she was a mom, and
Right.
you know,
I'm not qualified.
and so my sister and I, the siblings, the three of us, agreed this is what's going to happen. My sister and I, we took leaves of absences from our job, and we stayed at the hospital daily from 9 in the morning when we were allowed to come in till the time we were allowed to leave. And she would do 4 hours and I would do 4 hours, and we will alternate sitting in the family room until the next one could go in.
Right.
And that was because we didn't want them to tell us we couldn't come in because we had been outside the hospital because of COVID. So that was the 21-day journey. And we agreed that was the best way to care for her while she was in the hospital.
How old were you guys at this time?
Been 4 years, so my goodness, I was 44. I was 45.
45.
45. I was 25. I'm gonna be 50 this year. Okay, no me digan nada. I'm doing
Things are good.
Don't say anything. I heard it so loud.
Because I'm fit.
Oh, yeah, that's a kid.
Stretch.
Yeah.
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey. Yeah. Yeah.
But the 21 days of journey also, and just to be clear, she did go through a process. She went through 3 major surgeries. She came out of every surgery when they told us she wouldn't. Because that first night, when we left Northwestern, they told us, go home, rest. She will most likely not make it through this surgery. And I told the doctor, you don't know.
You don't know my mother. You don't know my God.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? You do what you can. Because I know that everything else is not taken care of. Just call us when she's out.
You told us something that she said to somebody.
Oh,
Yesterday. What was it that you said that she snapped on somebody?
Oh,
well,
God,
first of all, she's always snapping on somebody. I can't remember all the snaps. But she was also my sister was always worked in the medical field.
Yeah.
And she's very clear and direct with the doctor. So when the doctors try to come and give her any, she's just like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This is not what's going to happen. And I would be like,
and then they were telling me like, do you want to stay in here for this? Absolutely. I'm taking my notes. Hold them up.
Yeah.
Or when they're speaking medical terminology, I'm just like, no, she doesn't need that. That antibiotic is not good. You can move on to the next. And they're looking at me like, no, sir. I know my mother. And I just feel like advocate for your loved ones, right?
Yeah.
Doctors are amazing.
Educate yourself.
My son is a future doctor.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, advocate.
Yes.
So they're amazing. They have a skill, a knowledge that only they have. So I'm not diminishing their position and what they do, but you have to advocate for your loved one in the hospital. If you think it's wrong, if it feels off, if they're uncomfortable, speak up. Don't allow just anything to happen. I think also what happens with the minority community is a lot of times they are misdiagnosed.
Yes.
And they are mistreated.
Yes.
Just on a poverty scale. It's like, oh, they have Medicare, they have Medicaid.
Yes.
We're gonna put them in the back. It doesn't matter what you have.
Right.
What matters is that you're there to be taken care of. And mind you, it's not everybody. And right now with insurance the way it is and stuff like that, it's just you're a checklist when you walk into places.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's like if you don't check these boxes, this is the treatment you're gonna get. If you check these boxes, you're gonna get this treatment. And so advocate, speak up. And I spoke up.
Absolutely.
Consistently.
Absolutely.
In a nice way. And then I take them donuts. Be like,
There
here,
you go.
right here. Good morning, sunshine. Donuts. How's my mom? How's Mama Spicy this morning?
That's right, Mama Spicy. Well, hold on real quick. So for those of everyone that's watching, we are at our 1 hour mark, but we will be continuing and we're just letting this roll. So just roll with us. Okay? We're live. Thank you for joining, and please like, follow, share, and put the questions on there. We are watching them. So we are looking at some of them. and we will be getting to them in a few minutes. Okay, so stick with us. We got a lot more to come. Okay, so go ahead. So, about Mama Spicy, tell us about the nurse.
Yes, so my mom quickly became
Yes.
Mama Spicy. She received incredibly wonderful care during this visit and during this time in the hospital. And she was also incredibly caring and loving to those caregivers.
Of course, she always was like that.
So she loved on them. She prayed for them.
Every
She
day.
would
They were
talk
like-
to them.
To the point that, so after her second surgery, when she came out, they told us she's, going to be out of it, so,
Yeah.
go in 2 minutes and then leave the room. She was in ICU, and my mom, within 10 minutes of them putting her in the room, she opened her eyes and she was like, can both my daughters come in? I need to see them both. Because she knew Joshua was not there. So she's like, they're in the waiting area. And they were like, no, they went home. She's like, no, the girls are in the waiting area. Can they both come in 2 minutes so I could pray with my daughters? And the nurse went and got us.
Wow.
And she's like, I'm not seeing anything. You're going to come in, you're going to get out. She's just like, but your mom wants to pray with you girls.
Yeah.
And because she was doing that with them,
Yeah.
they allowed us 2 minutes to pray with her.
Wow.
That's good.
And so it was just,
Wow.
I want to say the experience, which is, it wasn't the experience prior when my mom had, been
Yeah.
sick or had been in the hospital. This experience was, it was meant. It was meant to be. And so it was a good one. Not a good one to see my mom sick or to see my mom pass, but she was treated so well.
Yeah.
And in her last days, she still got to make an impact on people's lives who she met.
Yes.
What did she do?
Talk to them about the Lord. Pray
Yes.
for them.
Pray for them. Yes.
Tell people, if you're not having a bad day, come in here. Let's talk it out. Why aren't you having a good day? And I'm like, Mom, you're not feeling well and you're praying for other people to have good days. And she would tell me, like, I just feel God's presence in the room with me. So why won't I share that with them?
Yes.
And we believe, I think in hindsight, right, I have had, this has been a different journey losing my mom than it was losing my dad, because when I lost my dad, I had my mom. But losing my mom, we've had each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that glue, that shelter, that protection was gone.
Yeah.
But I recognize that those 21 days were of grace from God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My mom could have died at any moment based on the condition that she had
Mm-hmm.
in her tummy. And God gave us 21 days to hear her last prayers for us.
Yes.
You talked about how when she was getting ready to make the transition,
Yeah.
because you guys, because the two of you were always there, that you involved your brother.
Yeah.
Want to talk about that and then?
Well, I think I just want to acknowledge that my brother is my mother's only son, and that she was his answered prayer.
Yeah.
And my mother prayed fiercely for Joshua because she adored him. And we laugh sometimes when we say he was the favorite.
We don't say.
We don't.
We know it. Not a debate. Yeah.
But
He's
but
right.
She believed
He's right.
God. She believed God for this son.
Yes.
Because we got to nurture my mom those 21 days. It was important that Joshua got to come in for us and give the last directives of what was happening.
And what did
And my mother was waiting for him.
Yeah.
This was on February 16th. And I believe that my mom was just waiting for Joshua to get there. And so he came in. He had the last moments with my mom. He made those final decisions. And I'm grateful to him because we had poured out what we could on those 21 days. And I don't think we had the strength to do the things that needed to get done on that last day. And my brother was able to come in and take care of those things with us, but also give the directive to the doctors. And I think only he could have done that. I don't think that I was in a place to do it, nor was Jessica.
How do you feel about that? What do you remember?
Yeah.
everything's a haze.
Yeah.
I remember talking to doctors and there wasn't nothing else to do. It was time.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of being there with her until it was over.
Were you in the room with her? Just you?
All of us.
Or all three?
We were all there.
What were you guys doing? Because what was that moment that you said when your mom had said that about the room?
That was so that she felt the presence of God in the room, that she felt the Holy Spirit in the room. That actually happened a few days before. She had come out of the second surgery. Was that the second or the third?
The third.
The third.
Wow.
She had come out of the third surgery, and she began to pray. And as she began to pray, she kept telling us,
Don't you feel that? Don't you feel him? Don't you feel
And we were like, what
Yeah,
do you feel, Mom?
important.
And she was just like, Mom, I feel.
Sorry, I know. It's okay. But we were able to get a snippet of it.
Wow.
Because, in the midst of her praying and us being in the room with her, it's like, grab the phone, because she literally entered a moment of just praise. And she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, he's here, he's here, he's here.
I know when she used to do that.
So that was after the third surgery.
That was a few days before her passing. And again, just the doctors, she had come through that surgery. She was well on her way to recovery. We were already talking
The
about
infection
physical
had already
therapy.
gone. She was cleared from the infection. They removed all of the IVs she had. She was not on any medication. So I know people may think but she was on no medication, no IV.
So she was ready to go
She
home.
was ready to go home.
They were talking about if
We were
we
doing
wanted to
those
bring her
next
home
steps.
to a rehab center.
Yeah.
So that was
That was
the
a
process we were
conversation.
in.
Wow.
But 2 days before she passed,
On
again,
Valentine's Day.
looking back, right? On Valentine's Day, she had me FaceTime Joshua and Nanha in their home, and she wanted to see Joshua and Nanha, Jay, Jackson, and Neilani.
Those are his children.
Those are his children.
Okay.
She had me FaceTime Edwin so that she can speak to Edwin, Micah, and Seth.
Wow.
And she had me FaceTime Miguel so that she could speak to Miguel and Noah. It was so weird. And she had me call her sister. She spoke to all of them on the 4th. It was so different. Now when we look back on it, right? It was so
Clearly, she was
different.
paying her.
She knew.
She knew it was.
She knew.
And she gave every single person a special message. She spoke to them specially.
One.
I was in the family waiting room, and my sister told me, Mom is having me call everybody in the family. And I was sitting there, I received it, and I was just like, oh, okay. But that's what it was. She was calling them all, and she was sharing her love.
Yes.
She was sharing her love for them.
Yes.
And she needed them to know, because I think Edwin said to me when I came home, he said, you know that your mom told me, Edwin, you know that I love you. No, I really love you.
Well, because she said, I love you. Edwin, I love you. And I was just like, I love you too, right? Because again, in our minds,
she's
we're
coming
getting
home.
ready to come home.
She's coming back.
And when I said I love you too, her tone changed. She's like, no, I love you. And again, didn't think about it until hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
So it's just like when we sit back, it's just like that was her saying her last goodbyes and her, giving us her love, to us. So that was right. Looking back, I can tell the difference in the tone of it, because at the time it's just like she's coming home. So yeah, I love you too. You're gonna come home. We're gonna take care of you.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah. That's what we thought.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But then her last moments were the same like my dad. The nurse had gone in, so she didn't have any heavies or anything, but she had the Foley to pee.
Yeah.
And the nurse went in to empty the bag, and she's talking to her, and she's just like, "Hey, Mom Spicy, do you want me to help you bathe?" And my mom answered her, "No, the girls are on their way.
Yeah.
So the girls will help me when they get here." So she goes, "Okay." The nurse said she walked into the bathroom to get the shower cap because they would give us a whole bucket with stuff. And she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave the bucket here." But she noticed that my mom had leaned her head back and closed her eyes. And so she just looked at her because she was like, my mom was literally just talking to her. And she touched my mom. And she called the blue because my mom's phone.
She didn't respond.
However, she didn't respond, right? They did go in, they work on her.
Yeah.
She comes back and she gave Joshua the last remaining of her time. And so she took her last breath.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were working on her.
Wow.
It was, you know, when the hospital's working on you, it's
Yeah.
not a pretty scene.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
There's a
very
nurse
chaotic.
on you.
It's
They
chaotic.
try to, they're
Yeah.
tubes down your throat.
It's very chaotic.
It's a very not pleasant picture.
It's an intrusive.
Absolutely. It's rough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because the staff was in shock.
Of course, because they were
They were
about ready
aggressively
to go home.
They're aggressively
Trying to
working on
figure
I want to say I gotta give it to them. To the staff, I'm telling you, they were just
I'm
phenomenal.
sure.
But they were aggressively working on her.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we had called Josh. Josh had already got into the hospital. The doctor came out to get us to walk us into the room. You know, and he's just like, "Listen, we are trying all that we can." When we walked into the room, her heartbeat came back, and yeah, I mean, she gave Josh about 8 more minutes.
Wow.
And they asked, you know, if we wanted them to continue compressions, and that's, you know, we told Josh he can make that decision.
Yeah.
What was when you said no? Why?
I'll be very honest. I could not tell you.
Yeah. He just knew. You knew.
You knew it was
Yeah.
gonna let
You
go.
knew. It was right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think also when you walk into a room like that, you're thinking like you're doing so much to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
You don't want to see your mom, especially.
it's so much. It's like
That's okay. No, but yeah, I think it speaks to you know, when your loved ones are in a vulnerable position and they have been your protector forever. How do you protect them in those last moments? And how do you give them dignity in those moments? And I think one thing that I'm so grateful for is my sister, my brother, and I, we can argue politics all day. But we will never fight each other on how we demonstrate love and dignity to each other.
That's right.
right.
Yeah.
We just never will. And from the moment my mom went to the hospital, we were in sync. This is what needs to happen. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And that harmony, that unity, that we will carry that forward, even after her passing, it was like we were a strand of three
There
cords.
wasn't ever a question.
There wasn't a question of how we had to do things.
It was. I don't think. I think we had so many moments together, along with our spouses. But I honestly can't say there was a moment where we disagreed.
That's amazing.
Nothing.
That's
When
amazing.
I like there was nothing that we can say we disagreed. We
Yeah.
And I disagree with
we
that.
were mad. Oh, we life is life. Life is life, and we disagree on life, but not when it came
But not when it came to
to anything that had to do with mom's services, mom's belongings. We also moved my dad from the cemetery. So my dad was in a cemetery because, mind you, 24 years ago we buried him in a place.
Right.
And when we looked for mom, we made the decision to move my dad over to where she was.
We're together.
Yes.
Wow.
And that was a whole other process.
Yeah.
And even in that process,
even
we
in
were
that-
like,
And think,
okay,
like,
this is what needs to happen. This is
you know,
what we do.
we're done with mom's part. Hey, can we talk about dad's part? Is everybody ready? Yes. Okay, this is, you know, these are the steps. I'm gonna make these calls. Josh can make these calls. Dinah make these calls. And together, all right, this is what we got. This date, this time, everybody good? Yes. And so it just, mean, I disagree with Dinah and Josh about, I
Yeah.
like, wow, you left me.
Diamond.
But
You told what was the story that you told us that she told the priest something?
Oh, so we were in the hospital. Like we were in the hospital. So you know that when a crisis like this happens, they immediately send in the chaplain. Right?
all of my church people.
My sister, Jesus is still working.
Yes, Jesus is working on me.
And
Every day.
all of us, girl, all of us.
Let's be honest.
Jesus. The chaplain came out and began to speak to us, and my sister is talking to me. She's like, they haven't let us come into the room. The doctor said he was going to come out and share with us when she was transferred to the intensive care unit. And my sister's trying to talk to me. And this chaplain is kind of like stuck to us and trying to ask us like, what's going on?
Because we're waiting for Josh to get there. So we're walking.
Yeah.
So, you know, Northwestern has the second floor where they have the restaurants, and we're moving to that area.
So
And
he
he's
sits
following
down
us.
and he's following us. And then he sits down right next to us. And literally, my sister's in the middle of telling me Josh was on his way. And she turns around to the chaplain and she says, hey, why are you with us? Did our mom die? Is that what?
Wait a minute. They only call the chaplain when it's time to say your goodbye.
And I was just like, and he came out and I looked at the poor chaplain was wonderful, right? And his whole face was like, oh no, I'm only here to provide support. And I was like, Jessica, the man.
And I'm like, support for what? If she's here, we don't need support. I was like, no, no, sir.
It was like, I was like, for a moment,
Like
I turned into my mom for a moment. I was like, Jessica, the Muslim. Mama,
I was like, Mom. I was like, wait. We were on the 10th floor. You were with us. We come down to the second floor. You're with us. We're waiting for my brother, and you're with us. What happened? Like, I know better. We know better. We work in the hospital.
Yeah. So the poor chaplain.
He was so kind.
He was wonderful.
The difference between now that you're parents, how did you break that news to your
Yes.
Yes,
It is very romantic.
Oh, so what my bestie was saying here with her little sexy raspy
Yes.
voice was how when your dad had passed, you had your mom to like lean on, and none of you guys were parents. Now that your mom has passed, you don't have your dad, but now you're parents. How did that dynamic change with you having kids?
Oh, we told the children that our mom passed here in this room.
Yeah.
And it was by far the most awful thing I've ever.
Well, Joshua went to his home.
Oh, Joshua went to his home.
Yeah, my son was here with her two boys, and then Josh went home to get his children, and he came here.
It was awful. And there's just no other way to describe the sound that came from our kids. I think to this moment, it's like, it's that sound of their voice when they screamed no.
Yeah.
Or when they wailed. And the pain is inside of you and now it's outside of you. And it's just it's like permeating the air. You feel like your skin is going to tear off. And you're watching their pain, and you cannot do a thing.
You can't do anything because you're
in so much pain.
Exactly.
It was so
how old were the kids? Youngest to oldest at the
So
time.
Joshua had the oldest grandson, and Jay was.
He had to be 16. He had to be 16, and the little ones were 4 and 5.
So these are your kids.
Yeah.
Noah was 15.
Michael was 14 and Steph was 8.
So they had her that whole time.
And she was also the epitome of grandma. Like,
Oh yeah.
she was
Your
grandma.
Shit.
No, mom was grandma.
Oh
yeah.
She was
She was that.
She She's
the grandma that didn't have me.
She was the daycare provider for all the kids.
Yes.
Probably works.
Yeah. Wait. She was the grandma that didn't have McDonald's money for us.
She didn't have to.
But wait. Talk about tomahawk steaks. She didn't have McDonald's money for us growing up, but she had tomahawk steak money for the kids.
For the
Yeah,
kids, for the grandkids.
Oh, yeah.
Is that how it
All
goes?
of their experiences, like she was such a hands-on.
Yes.
Time mom stopped cooking like that. You know?
Ooh, Joshua. Mom, I'm sorry. You tell me your business.
Well, as we got older, and
We were grown and married.
Yeah.
It was good, right?
She's like, what?
She still cooked for me.
Yeah. I used to go to her house and be like, Mom, you cook, but why do you want to make a small little ojita? And I'm just like, I want to take some home. It's like, no.
That was a that brief period of time. It was
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Me and my wife lived in the apartment upstairs,
Oh,
but I was freshly married, so mom,
Yes.
it was like
Yeah.
mom would cook. I remember mom calling like, I cooked. I got food down here, and it was after a year of me saying, Mom, I can't. I mean,
My wife
was like, so she had to stop cooking, and then once the grandkids getting bigger,
Yeah.
then she got back to cooking regularly and
Yeah.
multiple meals and whatever they wanted.
And she watched them the first couple of years, like so that we
Yeah.
could all go back to work and stuff like that. She had the kids the first few years, all of them. I think with Josh's youngest two were the ones with the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
And then Josh's wife worked from home, so mom didn't have to have them on the schedule, but she would go pick them up. She'd call me and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna call Joshua to go get the kids, but I'm picking you up to help me." And it's like, we're gonna go get the kids.
Yeah, she was
So she
definitely
So
such an
they-
active grandma.
So it definitely affected the kids because they all had
Oh yeah.
their own personal relationships.
Relationship with her, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was always there.
There was a period of time that my mom had come to live with us here in this home, and the boys' rooms are upstairs, and my mother had the space downstairs.
Mhm.
And I would go to get my son Seth, and I could not find him. And every day I would go downstairs, and he was already in my mom's room with grandma. And they just had these morning chats. It happened every morning.
And every
Their
night.
little chat.
Yes.
Yes.
And whenever our oldest Micah would wanted to talk to somebody,
Yeah.
he was downstairs talking to her.
Yes.
Like we wouldn't even know the stuff that he was just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow, like we're your parents.
That's how she was.
That's how she
Yeah.
was.
You could talk
Yeah.
to your mom about anything.
He,
She was
And he would never judge you.
She was also there for everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single person
Every
that
person.
met her
Except
felt that way. Right. It's like
So how did you guys feel like I mean, like I knew you guys because we all went to church together, and I knew your mom. Your mom was someone that we all loved, that you could talk to. How did that feel for you guys? Seeing her be a mom to others as well.
So I think it was amazing, but I will say from her funeral service and after, then I think we've had several conversations about the sorry for the reality for so many people right now.
No, but wrong.
You know, she was everyone's best. That was my best friend.
Yeah.
That was my best friend. That was
But
my
you-
best friend.
but you know what? You know what's special about that?
Did you feel that?
Yeah, that's what's special.
Right.
She made everybody feel like
I love them
I'm here with you.
because
Yes.
she loved people fiercely.
Yeah.
She did.
Yes.
She loved people. If she loved you,
She loved you.
Yeah.
Yes.
and there was no
Mhm.
doubt about it. And you would never doubt it
Yeah.
because once she told you she loved you, you were hers.
And
Yeah.
she loved so fiercely that the church nicknamed her Mama Love.
Mama.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody knew.
Well, that
Mama
was
Love.
specifically for Miriam. So
Yes,
if she's watching
you're
Miriam,
watching.
you know that
She
she was
started
your
that.
mama love first. For sure.
We got some.
Yeah.
It was just funny to see, you know, like I said, I think so many people came. She was my best friend. No, she was my best friend, and I
I never thought about it until
I think-
she passed.
correct. I think
That
after
conversation,
we're
I
sitting
remember.
talking, and we're like, do you realize how many people told us they were mom's best friend?
Right? Exactly.
I will say though, if I'm being 100% transparent, and I know that my brother and my sister will call me the truth, I was very possessive.
Yes.
No.
and I did,
She's like, no.
and I didn't like
get
it
that?
when my mom was
This is being
ever.
recorded, right? We got it recorded.
Like, you were.
You were.
You got two children upstairs in bubble wrap. What are you talking about?
very possessive and protective.
Mhm.
And I didn't always like sharing my mom.
Yeah,
Sometimes I just wanted her to be with me.
I know.
And she, her life was everybody's. And sometimes I'd be like, people would tell me about my mom, and I'm like, you can't tell me about my mom. She's my mom.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was hard sometimes, but she made everyone feel that way.
She did.
I loved that for her.
Yes.
And sometimes I was a little jealous, like, hey, lady, this is my time.
Yeah.
This isn't everybody else's time.
Yeah.
And so sometimes
But I think it's supposed
I
to
straddled that.
volumes to the person that she was.
Yeah.
I think one of the beautiful things is just to see it, hear it. We can laugh and joke, but truth be told, like, everybody's mom is special. Everybody loves
Of
their
course.
mom. But I'm like, no, truly, like, mom touched so many
Yes.
people
Yeah.
that, you know, we were shocked, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know it. We grew up
Yeah.
in a big church. We knew a lot of people. But I think it wasn't until we sat down, and then we found journals and journals of prayer
Yes,
books.
tell us about that.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Anybody that she came across and she wrote your name down, you are in one of her prayer journals.
Yeah.
Some way, somehow, somewhere. And it's like prayer after prayer. We have tons of journals, of prayer journals that my mom was continuously praying.
And she was so organized that they're tabbed. So the prayer journals are
Yes.
tabbed. Like there's a tab for family, government, community,
Yes.
friends, church. And then there's one in the back of each journal, a tab that says answers. So if you called her back and you told her that God did something for you or something, that job came through, she would write it.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering this prayer.
Wow.
In the back. And we found all these journals like, I was like, when did she write these?
Right.
Like in between. When did she write
She
these?
did.
Early
She did.
morning or late
Oh.
night prayer time?
Absolutely. At
A lot of
2,
both.
3, 4,
A lot
5
of
in the
both,
morning.
probably,
Yeah.
right?
When she was praying for Josh at 4 in the morning. She
Oh,
was a new journal. A new journal.
There were a lot of those books.
Well, you had told us, I know your siblings are here, but you had told us how your mom was truly, what's the word? How she protected your father
Oh
Yeah.
during those times. And
Yeah.
can you just share a little bit of what you
Yeah.
had said about that? Because I think that's so honorable
Yeah.
for a marriage,
Yeah.
you know, because I'll be honest, you don't hear about that kind of
Yeah.
protection and covering
They don't
that
like
you cover your spouse.
that.
No, I'll be honest with you, that you cover your spouse
Yeah.
as the Bible says.
Yeah.
So if you could share a little bit of that, because that hit me.
Yeah. I think that what I understood of my mom and now as a wife, I understand it from a different perspective is that my father had many flaws. He was battling very tough demons.
Yeah.
And my mother never let that become the story we inherited of our dad.
Right.
She didn't let us see his failures. She protected us from witnessing certain things so that the only image we had of our dad was the fun-loving dad who took care of us, who loved us fiercely, who played with us, who sang Las Mañanitas at the door in the mornings for us. And
What's Las Mañanitas? I'm a Mexican white girl, so
Hmm.
what's Las Mañanitas?
It's like a song.
Oh, okay. I'm like, is it a certain prayer like a bendición? Is it a bendición? Like what's
my dad would just
Oh, it's a
sing
new
this
song.
he would like sing this to us in the mornings, and she made sure that she never spoke of my father's shortcomings in a way that tainted our perception of our dad.
Wow.
And she didn't let other people
Correct.
do that either. So she protected my dad by making sure that when he went out, his clothes always looked impeccable. Now, he might have been drugging, but he was gonna look
He was
Good.
clean.
he was gonna look like a papisongo doing it, right? Like, I don't know why, but she always made sure. I'm just being honest.
She always
Maybe
made sure
not
he had.
a
She always
puppy,
made sure. She made sure he had a home cooked meal,
Yeah.
even in the deepest of his addictions.
Exactly.
My dad came home to eat, regardless of left or right.
That's it.
And she didn't allow anybody from outside to come to her to talk about him.
Ooh.
She knew what he was going through.
Mm-hmm.
She was in prayer about it. She had her own battles with God about it, right? Because I'm sure something that we wouldn't know, but I'm sure she struggled with sadness, anger, happiness about what he was doing. But she didn't let nobody come to her to talk about him.
Wow.
It was like, this is my husband.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna come and pray with me, yes.
Right.
But if you're gonna come
And
gossip,
Yeah.
you can leave it at the door.
She and I think that also that allowed us to always have our dads, our dad. We didn't see him. That's how come when we see. Let me just. I'm fumbling this to say this. I never look at somebody who's struggling with addiction as less than anybody else.
Right.
And it's because my father was struggling with addiction,
Yes.
but he was still an amazing father.
Yes.
And even though he didn't always know how to love himself, he was trying to love us the best way he could.
Ooh.
So anyone struggling with addiction is not less than anybody else.
Right.
They're just having a different battle. I shared one time with my brother, I said, some people may have a drug addiction. Well, guess what? I had a food addiction.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody.
Right?
Everybody.
But I can't look at one thing as worse than another, because the truth of the matter is that I was soothing myself with food all the time.
Yeah.
And people are soothing themselves with something.
Yes.
And my mother never made my dad look weaker just because he was struggling with something. Right. And I thank her so much. There's a woman in the Bible, Zipporah, Moses' wife. And she was such a strong woman. She availed Moses' salvation. I say this, and when I was talking to you, I say that my mother was a buffer between my father and his purpose. My father couldn't always walk in it, but my mother always declared it over him. She said it over him. She believed it over him. Yes. And she said, when people said, hey, Maritza, just pack your kids and go, or just let Francisco, let it. She said, one day God is going to clean him. He's going to make him a man of God. He's going to use him. And I'm not going to be the ex-wife in the audience when that happens.
Woo, girl.
And she stood by his side. And for me, that meant that my mother, she had to do two things. She had to die to her own will as a woman and put the husband that she desired him to be in front of that. And sometimes I'm saddened by the fact that her days were cut short, that she didn't get to walk in a fullness that I feel she deserved and earned. That's been my struggle in accepting her young passing. But I also recognize that I honor that my mother was such a courageous woman.
Absolutely.
And that because of that, my mother and my father both inherited heaven.
Amen.
I honor her for that.
And look at the legacy she left with you guys. I don't want to say left, instilled in your family.
Yeah.
You know, that legacy and the people that she touched, but not only her. I feel God's presence so strong right now that she saw the fulfillment of her prayers with your dad.
Yes, she did.
Coming to the Lord. And people that knew your dad before saw him change and become the man of God that God had called him to be. So can you imagine the lives that you don't know about?
Yeah.
That your father and your mother's fingerprint is on their lives.
I believe that.
Surely.
That you don't know about. That there will come a time that you will hear their testimonies. You will meet their children of the father that went and saw your father change.
Yeah.
And he gave up the drugs. And he told their kids, I gave up because I saw him do it.
Yeah.
You will hear those stories eventually.
I do believe that.
You will.
I do. Because their life and their purpose, we say we're their legacy of love, but I see it every time we talk to other people. And I see what they were left with,
Yeah.
what they received. And I know that no prayer dies.
No prayers. No, yes.
No love.
We talked
dies.
about that the other day.
It lives
Yes.
in our atmosphere.
I believe their intercession before the Lord is what has helped us through this time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because I
Without
don't
a doubt.
think the three of us have processed mom's passing very differently.
Right.
How was that?
Yeah, that's actually one of
That's,
the
that's our next question. Yeah.
So I think we each feel it, experience it, and process it very differently. Even though together, I'm just saying, like, because it's different. Like, I look at both of you, like, the three of us, we acted in different ways afterwards during the process of the service, right? Because I think that's such a hard time, right? Like, from the moment someone passes, it's a process. It's not like they pass, you bury them, and
It's over.
it's boom, it's done. No, like you have to sign the death certificate. You have to sign the paperwork in the hospital. Like you come home, and then the funeral home comes to sign you so that you can sign a release to go get the body. It's real. Like that process is very real. You have to pick out a casket, which we had an experience with the casket. You have to pick out a funeral home, a service, like what you want, flowers. Like I think so many headstones, so many things happen that you don't realize until you experience it, right? When my dad died, we didn't. We were there, but my mom did.
Your mom did it.
My mom passed, and we had to do it. And this was a whole new world.
And then add the complexity of COVID. That
everything
was shut down and everything was delayed.
And everything was delayed.
And then your children going through everything.
And then our children.
And the spouses.
Yeah.
Once they talk about what they experienced, I would like to hear how you, as a spouse, since you're.
I think we put Edwin through the ringer. We put our spouses through the ringer in general. Yeah. But
their pain was as visceral as ours.
Absolutely.
Because again, when my mother loved you, you belonged to her.
Right.
So these in-laws are her children.
Yeah.
And they were no different from us, right? Yeah. And I think to that effect, the difference was that we were both in pain, managing other pain, right? Our children's pain. And then also remembering that we had to honor and celebrate my mother's life.
Right.
So above your pain, what you recognize is that other people who are feeling pain also, who want to come and pay their respect, who want to honor their lives that were touched, you have to do everything so that it envelops everyone. It's not just your experience, it's everyone's experience at the same time. And we wanted to be conscious of that because that's who my mother was. Yeah. My mother was not, she wasn't a person who just thought about herself. Since she thought about others, when we were making the arrangements for her, we were thinking about others. How will we make sure to honor that they get to come and pay respect? How will we do this in a time of COVID where only a certain number of people could be in the room at the same time?
I think what a lot of people don't understand until, like you say, you go through it, right? And it's different with a family member compared to a spouse, compared to a sibling, compared to a friend, right? But whenever anybody loses somebody, you're trying to grieve, but yet you're trying to also respect others and give them the time that they need with that.
Yeah,
and that's difficult.
Yeah, I will say that my mother has my aunt Elizabeth. My aunt Elizabeth has lost all of her siblings. My mother was the last of the siblings that she lost. And we recognized that in the room, there was going to be a sister who had lost every one of her siblings. And this was the last one she was saying goodbye to. How do we honor their relationship? How do we honor her and acknowledge it in the midst of all the pain, all this? We have to, because my mother would have wanted us to, right? And so,
and my mother is still alive too.
Yes.
So
wow.
My grandmother is still alive too.
Yes.
So that's
your grandmother to bury all of her
She
children.
buried-
Except
yeah.
for one daughter.
She has one daughter. Yes.
So she has 4 children and she has buried 3.
Yes.
These are
And a
things
husband.
that you
And a
don't,
husband.
and a husband. And you don't take these things lightly because now you are facing how frail life is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how important it is that
What's
every
happening.
moment
Mhm.
be memorialized in a way that's respectful and honorable, both celebrating and aware.
Yeah.
And you're doing that while juggling all the things that are happening at the same time.
For sure.
These are, and again, my mom took care of these pieces before. Now we were in charge of taking care of these pieces.
Yeah.
And the eyes are on you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because let's be real, we're still family. This is
Yeah,
still-
yeah.
It's like a la familia, they're watching. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants to know what you're gonna do. So you gotta honor all of that and
Yeah.
take everybody into account and be respectful and mindful.
And that's a heavy,
And it's a
it's a
heavy
heavy
It's a lot.
weight.
Mhm.
It's a heavy weight when you just really just want to let go
yeah.
and have it taken care of.
Yes.
You talked about both of you having a couple of panic moments
Yeah.
towards the very end.
Yeah.
You guys, when you want to talk about it, I don't know if
I don't know how everybody else feels. I shared that I had a moment of panic at my mom's funeral that I can't remember.
Yeah.
Except that everybody tells me that I had this moment.
Mhm.
And
Just because
yeah, I think
Yeah, if
that
you want to share it.
that's pain. You can share it
Yeah,
better
because
than I can.
so the moment, the panic moment that she went through that she doesn't remember was the second to last day, because then the next day was going to be just the last day at the funeral home, and
The
then
day of the burial.
the day of the burial. So it was that evening prior, when it was time to go home. Right, they were going to shut it. They were shutting down, so they were telling everybody it's time to go home. All of a sudden Dinah was just walking through, but then at once she realized that she realized that we're leaving. And when she realizes that we're leaving, she's like, "But we can't leave mom. We can't leave mom. Where are we going? We can't leave mom." And that was what she was constantly saying. "But what about mom? We can't leave mom." And she just started like kind of just yelling it out. And so we had to kind of take her out because they're closing, right? They're closing.
Yeah.
And then she continued, and but again, she was walking, right? That's why she doesn't understand, because she was walking. It's not like we had to carry her. She was walking, just saying we can't leave mom. And then when we finally got her in the car, is when she just gave me this blank look, like, what happened? Why is everyone looking at me? Because everyone was still there. Why is everyone looking at me in the car? And we had to explain to her what was going on. She's like, "No, that didn't happen. No, it didn't happen." And it's just like, yes, it did. And I mean, I had to assure her. Jessica had to assure her. My kids had to assure her, "Yes, mom, this happened." And that was kind of like the moment that where she just panicked and doesn't remember.
Yeah.
All that.
I think that's pain and maybe
It's pain.
preservation.
It's preservation.
You're trying to fix the rock, but you're so broken.
you're
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
Well, what happens is too a lot is that I'm no therapist or whatever. Let's just put that out there. But a lot of times our brains just shut down when they're so emotional. You just shut. Whatever.
This comment
we
goes
have-
in line with what you just said.
We have a comment from my girlfriend Castillo Love. She said, "Losing your parents, your mind plays with you to a point that only God can heal you and see you through. God can help you through this pain when everyone fails. I know this very well, that God is real." You know who Castillo Love is. Shorty.
Yeah.
That's our girl Shorty. She goes, "Amen, I agree. Speak up for your loved ones when they are not able."
And then this comment goes to this.
And then Tiffany says, "Unfortunately, this is something I am bad at, even knowing. Thanks for sharing. My comment is referring going to the doctor."
Yeah.
So people hear you,
Yeah. It's so important.
Erica Sanchez says, "My amazing cousins have been such an example of navigating through the anger of grief. It's an ongoing process of having a space to direct your love when you feel like it has nowhere to go. I'm in awe of them.
She is our aunt. She is our cousin. She is my aunt, youngest daughter. My aunt has two daughters. One that's here, which is Erica, and one that lives in Puerto Rico, which came from my mom's service too.
Yeah.
And they were with us every step of this process.
They've been with us.
Like, we could not have made it through this process without my aunt Erica.
And so,
I think it's
yeah. Because
And I
they
think-
live here.
and Tío Pedro,
Yes, we only Tío Pedro out.
But I do want to say that Erica has a special bond with my mom. We know it. She knows it. And for all of our lives, they always thought that Erica was my mom's daughter and that I was my aunt's daughter. And so I just think that there's this amazing connection. She knows the incredible bond it was, but she has walked this walk out with us. On the nights that we're crying, on the nights that we're screaming, on the nights when we have no answer.
And then I we're laughing and we have a bottle of
And
wine.
then we're crying.
Exactly. You know,
Should be told,
that's
like,
amazing.
they're just people I think that were placed in our lives that going through a moment, we definitely can say have shown up with a piece of pie, a bottle of wine, hey, let's just, what you doing? And
Yeah,
you have no idea how much that moment has saved us.
absolutely.
Uh,
And knowing.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we're coming up almost on 2 hours, which goes by fast, right?
It does.
So we're gonna have like probably another 15 minutes.
Okay.
But I want to give you an opportunity, if there was anything that you wanted to share that you remember or don't remember in an experience when your mom had passed.
Oh, I mean,
In relation
there's
to-
people I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
Or moment.
we were having a conversation recently here, and it was like, oh man, there was a point where I had put a tie of my father's
Mhm.
in the casket with my mom. I don't even. We were in the living room here, in the dining room over here, talking about it. And they're telling me about it. I don't. I had to go home. I had forgot the tie. I had to leave the funeral to
he
pick
said,
up
I
the
wanted
tie
to
in my
do this.
house.
And we were
and
like,
bring
you
it back home.
did, John.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember it at all. Like it was. It's a blank. And then there's another moment with me and you. You were telling me about.
Yeah. So the other moment was everyone. This was the day that we were going to the day of the burial. Right when we were about to leave the funeral to close the casket, everyone left. We closed the casket, and then there's where you have to, do the seal. There's the crank, and the person who was there handed the handle, or was going to hand the handle over to Joshua, and he just froze. Like he just couldn't. He wasn't moving. He just couldn't do it, and I can see the man's face. Like we had to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're all standing. And again, this was a very intimate moment because it was just the guys, because it was the pallbearers. Everyone was out, and he just couldn't move. To the point where it's just like, I walked up to him. It's just like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this together.
Mhm.
And we closed the casket. Together.
Yeah.
And he doesn't remember that, but it happened.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And that's what happens with trauma.
But and I do want to point out, especially like, I want to say the importance of like having my wife, my brother-in-laws, Edwin and Miguel, like that clearly was much needed.
Yeah.
You needed some brothers.
Yeah.
Your sisters were good, but you needed.
Yeah, no, yeah.
We knew that we lost our
Having
mom,
that.
but we were watching there. Like I just remember Nana at the burial. It was so painful to watch her be in so much pain. It's like you're having this out of body experience. I was watching Edwin and Miguel being there. I'm looking at them. I know my siblings and I know what we lost, but I'm looking at them and they're in so much pain. It's so visible, and you are just in such a shock yourself, and they're trying to help you.
Yeah.
But they're in so much pain too.
Yeah.
they are in the same pain
Yeah.
that we're in. Something that Edwin said to me sometime after. He said, his mom lives in Puerto Rico. God bless them. Amazing mother-in-law. And he's like, my mom is in Puerto Rico, and I have spent more of these recent years with your mother than my own mother.
Yeah.
And then it dawned on me, that's who he had.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah. And he was going through that pain and then trying to keep it together for me.
Yeah.
Nanha lived on the apartment upstairs from my mom for years.
From
That
19. She was 19 when she moved in.
Yeah.
That took a while for me to really get to, because in the initial anger and pain, it was like, oh, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't get it. You don't understand. They do get it. Like, when you talk, that was mom to her too. Like, she was 19 when she moved in the house, and I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Given that my wife didn't get to meet my father,
Right.
but she got to
She had an amazing
live
mother.
with even though I'm sure that wasn't the most ideal situation living with the mother. But
And then I
I'm
was
so
in
very
my,
grateful.
in my home, Miguel. So we lost Miguel's mom and dad, and my mom all within 3 years. So Miguel's mom passed away, then his dad a year later, and then my mom a year later. So within 3 years, Noah lost all his living grandparents.
Wow.
And I think like it didn't dawn on me till time after, right? Like, cause like Joshua said, like I would get mad at Miguel and be like, you don't understand. And I'd be like, yeah, you kind of do. You know, like, yeah, now you kind of you do.
Yeah.
Because he did lose his parents, like both his parents within a year. So within a 3-year transition in my home, we had 3 huge losses. And it was like, wow.
That's a lot for a child. I don't want to even say a child, but a young person
Yes.
to go through so many generations of loss. You know, speaking about children, we wanted to share a picture that you sent to us about with your son. If you want to kind of tell them before we do it. So this is a picture. So on the
I love
left
that picture.
is your father with you, and then on the right is your son.
Yeah, I shared this picture with you, and we were talking about it because we were talking about how my father has been deceased for 24 years, right? And a couple weeks ago, as we were preparing, we knew we were going to do this podcast with you all, and my son came home from school. We were sitting on the sofa, and he was telling me about something that was going on in school, and I had a momentary reaction where I just began to cry so hard. And it came from nowhere. It was so unexpected. And it was because my son was sitting in this proximity to me, like my sister. And for the first time in what was 24 years, I felt like I was looking at my father's eyes. My son is going through a season where he's looking a lot like my dad to me right now. His eyes, his eyelashes. And that's the closest I've been to my dad in 24 years. And I was looking at my son thinking, those are my dad's eyes. I haven't seen them in so long. And I just started crying. My son thought he's like, my mother has lost it.
Now our kids all understand.
But that's what it was. It was like, it's this moment, grief comes in waves. They say.
Oh, yes.
And you just, anything, a smell, a look, a picture, a shirt, a memory can spark a song.
Yes.
Right.
Spark these moments, and it feels so tangible.
It's present.
Your pain is so tangible in that moment.
Right.
And your loss is so real.
Yeah.
My brother said something earlier. He said, life keeps moving.
Yeah.
And every day I wake up, my eyes open, and you're on the train, the life train.
Yeah.
But there are these moments where your loss is very real to you.
Yeah.
It's not every moment of the day,
It's painful.
but this is so painful. And you cannot trick your mind from facing it. And that moment with my son, when I saw my dad's eyes so clear in my son, was that moment for me. And it was like, wow. And it's been 24 years since I lost my dad.
Wow.
And yet I could feel it
Like it was that moment.
Yeah.
It was
It's
so
just
fun.
ironic that your son is roughly the age that when your parents got married.
Well, my dad was older than my mom. So
Okay,
my
yes.
mom was 19 and my dad was 26.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my dad was a little or 27.
So we got a comment from Erica Sanchez again. She goes, Mom sends her love and support, and she wants you to know how proud she is of all three of you. She feels so blessed to have each one of you.
My Titi Liz is the
Yes.
best. She's
So-
the best.
We're going to start wrapping it up. So we wanted to do final thoughts. So a couple of things. I'm going to give you guys 3 questions, and you choose which one you want to answer, including yourself. The first one is, if your parents could hear this conversation, what would you want them to know? So that would be your mother-in-law. What message would you give to other families going through a similar journey of grief? Or what is your pain to purpose moment from this experience? You choose to answer whatever you want.
Wow, we knocked them all out.
I know.
We come up with some good ones. Huh?
Okay. I'm gonna
Answer whichever one you want.
the one of what would I say to my parents?
If your parents could hear this conversation, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that I would choose them as my parents in this lifetime 1,000 times more.
Okay.
It would not matter to me. I would choose them 1,000 times over. I want them to know how much I love and miss them. I would choose them over. Period. If I could talk about pain to purpose, I would say that for anyone going through loss, you are not alone. It feels like such a lonely journey sometimes, but you're just not.
Yeah.
And family are the people who will come alongside you
Yeah.
and will stand shoulder to shoulder with you. And sometimes you just gotta lean into it.
Yeah.
Trust that leaning.
Lean
process.
into it.
Lean into it.
How about you, Jessica?
If I could say something to my parents for as much as I complain, I would say, thank you for leaving me with Dinah. Okay, I don't think Dinah and Joshua. I fight with Josh all the time, and I disagree with them 9 out of 10 times. But I wouldn't want to do this life with anybody else. I would choose you, Dinah, and I would choose you, Josue, over and over and over again, because I love you guys, because I appreciate you. I'm so proud of both of you. I know you both don't even see the example you've been to me or to my son, but I appreciate both of you. And I know I couldn't have made this journey without you. Erica. Okay. And anybody who is going through grief, anyone who's going through a loss, or a situation, because it doesn't have to be a loss, it could be a situation.
I'm good.
I would say, give yourself grace.
Yes.
There's no wrong answer when grieving or going through sadness. Grief can look like a ton of smiles, because we've had our moments where we've laughed so hard our stomachs hurt. It can look like the most sorriest of days of you not being able to get out of bed, you not being able to shower. It can look like you not cleaning your house for a week because you just don't have the strength. So grief, loss, circumstance can look very different for everybody.
That's right.
And it doesn't look one way. So the way you're going through it, it's okay, but don't stay there.
That's right. Yeah.
Just understand, go through it, take your time. If it takes you a day, if it takes you 2, if it takes you a week, if it takes you a month, go through it, feel it, let it out, but push through.
Yeah.
Don't stay there, because your loved one wouldn't want you to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I miss my mom every day. I saw my mom every day.
Yeah.
I didn't see my mom once in a while. I went to my mom's house every single day, literally. And I spoke to her. So I would visit her during the day, and at night we were on FaceTime at midnight every night. And losing my mom was like, I know I'm married, but I felt like I lost my partner.
Yeah.
When I lost my mom.
Yeah.
But I took that and I turned it into making myself healthy again. Fixing my body, like my hips, I have rheumatoid arthritis and I went through hip replacement. I went back to school. I went back to work in office full time. So I took that to push me.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't have wanted me to just stay in bed
Yeah.
and mope. So it's like, I turned it around.
Yeah.
For better. So go through the process, and it's okay to go through the process, but push through. There's more on the other side, and they're watching.
Yeah.
I believe they're watching.
Yeah. Josue?
I mean, I'll keep it simple, but yeah, if I can tell my parents something, just love and miss them.
That's enough. Yeah. And you, Edwin?
Well, for me, I mean, what I would tell my mother-in-law is, thank you for accepting me with all the baggage that came.
No.
For allowing me to, be with Dinah and have an amazing wife. And I think that paints a purpose for me is, I'm blessed to have my parents. She is the first direct loss to me. Have I lost family? Yes, but nothing as close. So that was a big eye opener for me. And so the purpose to that, which is I advise everyone, is just like, life is short. Even if, right, like myself, like my parents, my mom lives in Puerto Rico, my dad is in Alabama. And every day, I may not talk to them every day, but I always make sure to see how they're doing, call them, do they need anything? Because, at any point in time, I think there's just no time for arguments, for I'm mad at them, I'm going to show them, I don't want to talk to them because they hurt me. It's just like, just let all that go and, just make that connection, make that love, make sure that, that love is always there, because those angers, that's temporary.
Yeah.
But, that love lingers on, and you got to make sure that you appreciate them and show them the love every day, at every minute, every second that you can.
Absolutely. We got 2 comments here. Non-hack Torres. Great job. She says, great job, Dad. Titis and Tia. Jackson. And figure number 1. And then Tanya Sanchez sending hugs and kisses from PR. So blessed to be your cousin. So we shared a lot of raw emotion. And I know Maddie and I thank you for being so open and honest and not taking away from the women, but the men, because, when we first started this podcast together, we made it a choice that we were going to start with a man's vulnerability with issues that men don't talk about. Because we didn't want to be a podcast that just talked about women and this and that. And I personally had a couple comments, I see all your guests are women. Then you haven't watched our podcast.
Right.
Because we wanted to be different, and we wanted to give men a safe place to speak openly and honestly and raw. And we thank you from our hearts for being raw and open and honest and vulnerable. When we started this podcast, we always talked about We want to get to the raw truth and everything, but we're not going to end on that note. We want to end with something positive, uplifting, funny. So 10 seconds each.
Josh.
10 seconds each. So 10 seconds each. Say if there's a quote that was a family moment that was funny, that you remember when somebody fell down the stairs, or when your mama did something, or when your daddy did something, or when they did something that we can close this up with laughter or her affection of love, their legacy of love as a husband and wife, or as a father, or as a mother, whatever comes to your mind that you want to share that's uplifting.
Yeah. My mother and my father were the king and queen of refranes. They had a thing for everything. And my father used to make us think that he was the most intelligent man by saying gibberish until we understood that he was saying gibberish. So he would say things like, porque la ciencia hípica de las circunstancias. And we thought he was saying something. And he wasn't saying nothing. He was saying nothing. We were like, that's jargon, right? It wasn't until we got older that we realized he wasn't saying anything smart. He was just giving us laugh. So those are the kind of like the little thing that I would say.
The funny thing I remember is Dinah, Josh, and I were bickering in the living room on Whipple, and my dad flung the caldero of rice over. Do you remember that?
I do.
The plate of rice. He was so upset. He was like, "You guys are gonna stop. You guys are gonna stop." Fuck it, and we were like, "Fuck it."
Fuck it. You know that's you know Fucking is the symbol, right?
We knew we were in trouble.
Fucking is the Puerto Rican symbol of stop it now.
Yeah. Or you're gonna get pop out.
The whooping is fucking.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Josh, do you remember anything?
I mean, nothing specific. Something I still do with my kids and wife, which is it's lame. It's just not even funny.
I love it.
No one gets it. But it's every time we're driving on the 90 to downtown and I hit the curb. I'm like, this is downtown. As children, both my parents and Dinah all worked in downtown. So we went there every day. Every day. And every time you hit that curb, getting off.
Yeah. You know what, Joshua? I
still
still do the same thing. I still do the same thing. This is downtown.
On the curb.
Yes.
On the
When you get off on
No, on
Ohio,
the 90.
on the 90 and get off on Ohio,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
my
And it
dad
curves a little
said
bit.
it every time. He was
So
like,
you would see the
this
skyline.
is downtown.
In the building,
Yeah.
yes, every single time.
I did that to my kids the other day, and they
They
looked
don't
at me.
get it.
They don't get it. Yeah.
So what do you remember?
Oh my God, mine. I think if my mother-in-law was here, she would completely strangle me.
Oh, great.
Oh my God.
Yes. Do it.
I didn't know about this. I didn't know about this till early, till later on. But when I first was dating Dinah, I was at their house, and Dinah and I were in the living room watching TV. You know, Maritza's in her room, Jessica's downstairs in her room, and it was late, and I fell asleep. Dinah fell asleep, right, and. Again, I didn't know about this till later, right? They told us this, and it's always been the joke of it all. Unbeknownst to me, while I was sleeping, thank God, my mother-in-law Maritza thought that I was gone, that I had left because it was so late, and she had walked out just in her underwear. And she, again, I'm going based on the story because I was asleep. And she like froze. She froze from what I remember, or from what they told me. She froze, and she went right back into her room, and she called Jessica. She was just like, "Edwin's still here," and I walked out in my underwear. I don't know if he saw me or not. And from there, it has been the joke. Just like, I'm like, thank God I was still sleeping, but it was in the living room with her teachers.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
But that always been the joke all the time.
I absolutely love that. We are going to close and say what I want them to.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you if you guys had wanted to say a quick prayer for those who are watching. If just a quick prayer, and then we're gonna end with the video that Maddie made of your family, the legacy of love. but just to pray for whoever's going to watch something, whatever your heart says.
Yeah.
And then we'll end that way.
Yes.
Okay? Okay.
Like, why did you leave it to me? You see what the oldest sibling always goes through?
Exactly.
No, but it's my honor. It's a privilege. Father God, I just worship you. I thank you, Daddy God. I thank you for this time that you have allowed us to have together in fellowship. I thank you for giving us a space through this podcast to talk about love and loss, grief, and navigating pain. And I ask right now, Father God, that anyone who's listening, anyone that's hearing, anyone who has tuned in, Father God, that if they have had this experience where they're going through a situation, that you would just wrap them in your love. Father God, there is no greater love than this, than a man laid down his life for us. And you laid down your son for us. Let them feel that kind of love, the fierce kind of love that will wrap them in whatever situation they have going on, and let them know they are not alone. They're not doing life by themselves. They're not going to go through something and not have partnership, friendship, and love to bring them through to the other side. Let them feel your never-ending love in that form of agape as a father that you've given to us, Father God. I just thank you for my siblings. I thank you for Maddie and for Benita. I thank you for our brother and sister-in-law. I thank you for the family that has wrapped around us, our children. And I ask, Father God, that you allow us to continue being a legacy of love that our parents left behind. Let us love people fiercely like they love them. Let them know that they can come to us. We are safe for them. Anyone who may need, Father God, that they know that we are the children of Maritza and Francisco Torres, and we will love them if they need it. I thank you, Father God, for this time, and I pray for everyone who's been connected in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Powerful. Well, thank you. Now we got some things for you. You've heard about Francisco and Maritza's love. You've heard about her strength and resilience. We leave you with her message, her voice on love.
Love no cambia, el amor no cambia, el amor no cambia, el amor no cambia. ¿Sabes por qué? La misma Biblia dice que todo morirá y todo se acabará, pero el amor nunca va a morir.
Amen.
So that's, keep on loving, keep on loving, keep on loving, no matter what.
Thank you for watching It's a Life Thing, Bridging Pain to Purpose. We're your hosts, Benita Santillanes
and Madeline Figueroa. Contact us at ialt.p2p@gmail.com.
Don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Instagram at It's a Life Thing.
Mark your calendars for every second Wednesday of the month, where we'll bring you beautiful souls, share their stories, and understand how they bridge their pain to purpose.
We'll be waiting for you.